Prologue, Frank Costell, read by Katherine Day. 18th of November, New York City, 1918. To Frank, this was home. A chill swept across the city that night. It was the only sound to be heard across the avenue. Only the previous week had hundreds upon hundreds of New Yorkers crowded around the streets, all celebrating as one for the end of the largest war the world had ever seen. But tonight, Frank was alone. Tonight, Frank was terrified. He sped along the block, not daring to look back. He wraps his trench coat around him tightly to conceal his package and tilts his fedora down slightly so to cover his face beneath the street lamps. He turns a corner to reach Fifth Avenue, only to find half a dozen cops waiting.
Frank Costell! Get in!
Frank notices straight away that they were all armed. Jimmy was right.
They'll be coming for you, Frankie,
he had said, smoking one of his favourite cigars beneath a swinging lampshade. The office was dark. A dull revolver had lay across the desk. From experience, during the past 6 years, Frank had known it was loaded.
Consider this my gift to you. I could not warn you. Get out while we can.
Your gift is telling me the cops are coming?
Frank had had to keep his temper. Jimmy was known to blow the head off a man, even if they spoke in a suspicious tone to him.
Hey, kid, that's more than most of my lot get when time's up.
He stood and walked to the corner and grabbed a small parcel from the safe.
We've been told your would be bored to disappoint them.
He slid the package across the desk. Frank picked it up and opened it. Inside was an all-too-familiar gun, an Italian revolver, military. Its barrel was quite short, ideal for close attacks, but it wasn't familiar to him because it was Italian.
From your father. Take it and get out of my sight,
Jimmy muttered, putting out his cigar in a silver ashtray.
What of my wife?
The cops know nothing of her yet. It's up to you if you want to take her with you. Depends if you really do love her or not.
He looks up, grinning, as if he knows.
Best,
muttered Frank. With a swift turn, he had grabbed his coat and ran from the room.
Happy holidays, Frankie.
Now Frank stood there, face to face with them, and still 4 blocks from Loretta. Without even thinking, he sprints back down the street. Shouts from the cops behind him, and scuffling of feet as they began the pursuit. Down dark alleyways, Frank hoped these would hide him from their gaze. But the shouts from behind were slowly waking up this block, and lights were coming on in the towering flats, blowing his cover. Without thinking, Frank took a sudden left, only to find himself at the end of the alley with the week's garbage. He was thinking of hiding the gun within the rubbish until the cops sped around the corner and raised their own at him.
Stop!
One of them yells. Frank groans. He knows that cop. He had been the one who had arrested him just 4 years ago. Frank avoids eye contact with them, desperately searching for an elusive escape, a ladder or an open window. Yet nothing. He could hear them shouting at him, telling him to drop the gun, getting more and more aggressive. Frank stood there, clueless. He couldn't go back inside. Not again. Then, as he was preparing for an inevitable shootout, he notices a glint of silver from above. It must be the 7th floor of a flat. The muzzle of a gun sparkles slightly in the moonlight. A sniper rifle. It was pointing at him. He quickly went over the possibilities in his head. If it was the cops, they would have made the hidden assassin more visible, so it couldn't be them. Then he realized. Jimmy had never meant for him to escape the city, just to play with him. Even if he dropped the gun, the sniper was going to take him down. The next moments passed in a sudden blur. The sniper must have realized Frank saw him and took a shot. The bullet, missing his head by inches, blows away his fedora and causes him to stumble to the ground in shock. The cops, thinking Frank had taken a shot as he fell, opened fire instinctively. For a few seconds, gunshots and bullets sang through the air, the sounds deafening to anyone near, but not to Frank, as he was no longer there.